enthusiasm to come aboard the franchise?
I don't. You guys are all much older than me. I obviously wasn't alive.
You weren't even a twinkle.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I can't. I mean, really, if you look back, and I can't imagine this sort of childhood without Planet. You know, I was 9, 10 when the first one came out. So, you know, it's not only the opportunity to work with these good people, but you're also being asked to be part of cinema history. So it's you know, that was above and beyond the story and that. You know, you're involved in something that for the most part comes with a very good pedigree. I mean, it went a little wobbly for a while, but we're back on track. And I said that here.
That's right. We accept. We accept.
I saw, the thing about Planet of the Apes was it really, for a long period of time, was my childhood. I mean, I was so obsessed after seeing that movie. And I don't know, as a kid seeing the movie, it's an interesting thing that the first thing you want to do is actually become one of those apes. It's so fascinating. And I was so, like, interested in that John Chambers makeup and seeing gorillas on horseback with guns, like, what? That's a pretty powerful image. And I had the dolls. I had an 8mm reel of Beneath the Planet of the Apes, which I would watch until all the sprockets broke. I mean, I was obsessed. And the great thing about when I saw Rise, having been a lifelong fan, was that having always wanted to be an ape, when I saw that movie, I suddenly was an ape. And the reason was for a reason that I never would have suspected would ever be able to be done, which was that I had emotional identification with an ape. And that blew me away. I thought, oh my God, I can't believe that now I know what it is to feel that character's feelings, and in a way that actually the most human character in that story is Caesar and what Andy did. And I was so blown away by that. And I thought, wow, what's so exciting about Planet of the Apes is that, of course, the secret is, you know, we're all saying, oh, it's all about how the animals become, you know, get in charge. Well, we are the animals. And so the idea of doing a story about how the animals get in charge, well, since that's what we are, the story's about us. And what I thought was so exciting about getting into this world was to explore, really, you know, it's a blockbuster, right? It's a big sort of giant effects movie, and it's a summer movie, but it's a very unique one in that it's about our nature. And to explore that from both sides and to extend the story and everything that they did in Rise was such an exciting thing for me. And that's really why I wanted to do it.
Let's move on to James.
Yeah, and my question is for Andy. Your first performance as Caesar, you received such a great groundswell of support and just recognition from the fans about the wonderful performance you gave leading to this campaign, you know, to get you nominations for various award shows. What was that like for you? And just do you have any expectations moving forward that maybe that recognition will continue to grow for what you and others do?
I mean, I have to say, I've sort of unwittingly become a spokesperson for a sort of perceived discrimination between actors who act in motion capture suits or in costumes with makeup, and it's not a position I've just sort of ended up in this rather weird position, and I shouldn't be, because in actual fact, performance capture is just is a technology, it's another bunch of cameras filming an actor's performance, and I think really the most important thing is that the perception is that needs to be understood. So regardless of any awards or accolades, it's really an understanding not just from within our own acting community, but also within the filmmaking community at large, and then actually the people who know most about it are the audience. They seem to be so aware, and the younger generation of actors or younger generation of people who've grown up with knowing how to be, who become avatars through video games, they have no problem understanding you can become something else, sitting at home doing that. So I really don't, I would say I've never distinguished between, when I played lots of different roles, whether they be live action or performance capture, and Gary's done the same. You don't alter your performance because you're using a different camera to film you. That's I suppose that's what I feel. What do you think, Gary?
No, but you don't. I know you put it very well. I mean, The question that's often asked is, what's it like working with Andy Serkis as the ape? You're better to answer that because you have all the big scenes with them. But I come to work and I get into a costume, and Andy comes to work and gets into a costume, and so it's, at least you can see his face, you can see the eyes, and you see the emotion. I would actually rather that than you, if you were wearing a mask, then the question might be, well, what's it like working with someone who's behind a mask? But you're not. You're like, but you did you're...
No, it's Andy. That's what the great thing is. It's not anything other than a really talented actor. I'm seeing Andy's eyes and hearing his voice and hearing him talk about his family. And that's exact same as any other scene.
But it's not, and also in this film, there's brilliant performances across the board from a load of talented actors playing apes as well. It is an ensemble piece, and on the human side as well. So it's I don't see. I mean, it's interesting going back to the question about the original Planet of the Apes, and there are all those sort of apocryphal stories. Well, the orangutan sat at one table and the chimpanzee sat at another table at dinner time, and nobody ever talked to each other. We certainly don't have that situation. The actors are the actors.
But that's where I drew the line.
They would never eat together. It was really, that was weird.
That was
I thought
clear. That was
weird.
very clear with you.
Lunchtime.
It was
No
all-
animals.
The thing about it was, for me, was I'd never done motion capture, and my main interest really in being a director, I love telling stories, but the thing that's the most important to me is that world with the actors, and getting to work with these people was such an incredible experience, and I thank you for that. But the thing about it that I was worried about was, because I didn't know, other than seeing Andy's work as it had been translated already, I knew that those performances were captivating, and I knew that I had been deeply affected by Caesar, but I was like, I guess even I didn't quite understand it, and so I said, it's amazing what they're doing, but I need to understand it more. So at the beginning, actually, what I did was I said, I want to see every shot that Andy did as Andy, and then I want you to show me Caesar. And what blew me away about it was that Andy was better than Caesar. And I was so emotionally affected by what he did, and I was saying to Weta, wow, it's amazing that you're able to translate as much as what he did, and I would love in this film if you could translate even more, because he's just, at the end of the day, it was such a relief. I thought, so the way it works is you work with a brilliant actor, and that's the secret of mocap, which it really shouldn't be a secret. It's just you're capturing motion. The genius of what Weta does is faithfully turning that into something. Now, what's crazy is that Caesar's anatomy is not Andy's anatomy. So how are they doing that? And it's all about, now I found out after spending all of this time with them, what details they're trying to take from Andy's face and how his mouth is a different shape. It's very weird. Sometimes I go, well, Andy didn't do that. You go, well, Andy's not an ape. So it's a very interesting process, but at the end of the day, the heart of the story and the heart of everything we're doing all comes down to these guys. And it all comes down to performances that have the kind of emotional authenticity that you can get working with great actors, and that's what Andy is, that's what Keri is, that's what Keri is. So, to me, as a director, there's no greater pleasure than being able to just basically sit back and watch them.
Vivian, next question.
Yes, I have a question for Andy. Do you realize that your acting is also a change in other countries when they dub your voice? Have you seen the movie?
Have I seen it dubbed? Have I seen?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it wasn't a problem with Caesar in the first movie. But but yes, no. I actually met when I was doing Lord of the Rings. I actually met the guy from Japan who played Gollum and Smeagol, and we both did it for each other, and it was amazing.
way!
Actually. I mean, without sounding like I'm racially stereotyping, his Gollum and Smeagol was it was fantastic. I was like, God, that's incredible. Of course. But the thing is, we all had our performances dubbed into other languages. That's what happened.
Hello. My question is for Matt Reeves. I wanted to talk to you about any if there was like any fears or just like incredible amount of excitement first taking on this project, because obviously you love the franchise. It sounds like a dream job for you.
You know, the thing is, it was a dream and it was terrifying, because what essentially happened on the project was that I had a great affinity for Rise. I thought it was really moving, and I was like, when they approached me about it, I thought, why has done such a beautiful job with this film? And it turns out that for a number of reasons that he didn't want to do what they wanted to do. He also didn't think the schedule was enough and all this stuff, which now, having done it, I can tell you he's right, the schedule was not enough. But the idea was, I said, well, you know, what I'd be interested in is carrying forward really what was established in Rise, which is the emotional heart of those apes and how that turns into, look, we all know that it doesn't become Planet of the Humans and the Apes. So it seemed to me that this was a moment where you could actually explore that question, the coexistence between these two populations that were struggling for survival. And the thing that was really important to me was that we carry forward the apes in an emotional way that you could relate to, and that we take the humans and even in a way that was really different from Rise, take those humans and depict them in a way where they weren't villains either. There are no villains in our story. It's all about survival and trying to find a way to sort of master our nature and the impulses within us. And so I went in and I sort of pitched that, and they were like, okay. And I was like, oh, okay, so what's the catch? And they said, the catch is you need to start shooting very soon. So that was the crazy thing about it, was just that I had to jump in and seize the opportunity. But they were giving me the opportunity to make the movie that I thought would be so exciting to be a part of, and to get to dive into this world was something I couldn't resist. So there were a million things I'd never done before. The idea of doing motion capture, and the idea of doing effects on this level, and yet the big sort of relief of it all was that at its center it was exactly the same as making any movie, except after you've done that, then you have to do a number of really strange things, like shoot the scene again, which Keri can tell you without the actors or Keri to tell you. It's like suddenly it's like, hey, we just did something great. Yeah, now you guys got to go back in there and do it again, and this time they won't be there. And all of those things were added complexities that were challenging, but that was part of the thrill of it. It was really like just jumping out of an airplane and saying, I'm doing this, I'm just going to do this. And I got to tell you, I would never jump out of an airplane, but I was happy to jump into this.
Yes, you said it will lead up to that. So I read that you have agreed to work on a belt for the next one. How would you expand it further, build upon it?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is that I think that there's a particular luxury with getting involved with the story, which is we already know the ending. So the story immediately isn't about the what happens, it's about the how it happens. And I had a screenwriting instructor who I loved many years ago who talked to me about stories, and he said, you know, there are the kind of the stories that are about the what, and then there are the stories that are about the why. If you already know what happened, then it becomes about the why, and the why is about psychology and about character, and that is what I find interesting. So to me, the idea was, and it was actually the thing why I was saying, you know, when I got involved, they had actually jumped farther down the line, closer to Planet of the Apes than I ever wanted to, and I thought I was not going to do this movie. I thought, oh, that's what you guys want to do, because I think you should start earlier, because there's a long and interesting path that's all about the lives of these people and how they're affected in this situation, and the idea would be that the next phase of the story would be how those lives continue in this struggle. It's an ongoing struggle, the way that our lives are every day.
Okay, Jeffrey, next
Sadly,
question.
we all know the end.
For Gary, the colony you lead in this movie, is this like the last vestige of the human civilization as sort of humanity at the top of the food chain, as these damn dirty apes are taking over with their paws and such?
Well, initially we don't know that there are apes there, because this community has survived the flu, the epidemic, which is sort of wiped out a huge part of the world. We believe that the military have done their job, and I mean, basically that they've wiped out the apes. So we are this. I mean, the thing is, we have food, we have water, but the currency in the movie, I guess, if for want of a better word, is electricity. That's the currency, And we need that to communicate to the outside world, to actually find out if there is anyone out there, or how many are out there, who is out there. So we believe, you know, for all intents and purposes, we could be the only. I'm sorry, I'm incredibly distracted by the camera. So we could be the only survivors. And then, of course, we discover, you know, cut to a community of apes.
We're not just apes, right? Yeah.
We're all doing their thing with their family, and think we've all been wiped out, and you know, and then of course, you know, we discover each other.
And they got a problem.
And then and the drama is, I mean, that's, you know, can the apes and can the humans coexist?
And for me, the idea was that it's really a story of two families. There's a human family and there's an ape family, and that's what the colony is. That's the human family. And the difference is that the apes, they're on the ascendancy. They're still, you know, the idea is we start in this ape world and we're following their development. It's like, oh my God, in ways it almost sort of mirrors our own sort of tribal development. And you see as language is coming into being and all of this stuff. And you're seeing all of the bonds that have been formed and the next generation that's coming and the civilization they're building. They're really on the way up. But the humans, the colony, they have just had the most massive sort of tragedy happen to them. And they are a family that's trying to heal itself. And so these two families have to find some way to survive, and the stakes are all about the things that they care about. And also, there's the question for the humans deeply about what it is that they've lost. The idea in this story for the humans is what it took even to still be here, and what was lost along the way, and what's worth fighting for at this point. And all of those questions, I think, are very emotional questions. It's one of the reasons why I was so excited to have these guys in that story, because of the emotional sort of depth of that was really important to me, so that this would not feel like we had sort of like straw man humans that you sometimes see in these movies where it's like going, oh, let's see the apes destroy the humans, I can't wait. That's not what the story's about. And so that's really the struggle, is the struggle about what are these two families going to do to avoid killing each other.
Okay, we're essentially out of time. One last question here.
Oh wow, no pressure. How did filming in such a culturally rich place like New Orleans impact the production?
I mean, I think we all had an amazing time shooting at the start. I love New Orleans. I know a great time. It's this extraordinary city to film, and it's so above and beyond the difficulties of shooting in 100% humidity. You know, which nobody wants to stand next to you.
And I love the smell of stale beer and vomit.
That combined with us in our mocap suits.
That's right, we're wearing flannel suits and like 100-degree,
We'll be anywhere near us.
Yeah.
But
Interesting smell.
But my God, what a great city. I'd go back there in a heartbeat. I mean, the music scene is phenomenal. As a jazz fanatic, bike rides. Brilliant.
Food was amazing, yeah.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Go back in a heartbeat.
Thank you.
Thank you.